Hello, dividend executives. Welcome back. Well, we've done it again. We are now in month 7 of margin investing on our favorite QDTE XDTE and RDTE, the round hill funds that pay every single week based off of selling covered calls, collecting that income, paying out dividends every single Friday. We reinvest all of our dividends, and I want to take a look at the numbers like we do each and every single month and see, was it worth it this month to use about $11,500 worth of Robinhood's money to buy these stocks? And did we make more than we paid in interest, and was it worth it overall? Well, let's take a look. First things first, as you guys know, the market is getting absolutely obliterated as of late. SPY's pulling back, QQQ is pulling back, Russell 2000 is pulling back. Everything's pulling back, and as you guys know it, the fear and greed index is extreme fear right now, right? We have tariff going on, we have potential wars, we have vandalism, we have all kinds of crazy stuff going on right now. So we stick to what we stick to, and that is investing. We buy the dip, we average our shares we average our cost down every single week while we can, and we just continue to invest for the long haul, right? Right now, this may suck for any of the investors that are out there experiencing the pullback in the market, but long-term mindset, I think it's all going to work out. So let's jump into it. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at where we're at on the shares that we do have, and let's take a look at how the assets are doing. Again, we have a massive pullback. So the numbers that I was working with last week are completely different than the numbers that I'm working with today, just because the stock market is absolutely taking a nosedive today. So let's jump into it and let's break down the data on month 7. First things first, we got to go over the shares that we do have, how much capital we have invested in them, and what it looks like right now. So we have 195 shares of XDTE, 222 shares of QDTE, and 193 shares of RDT. You can see the capital there in order, about 9,000 XDTE as of right now, just under 8,000 in the Q, and just under 7,000 in RDT. So the one thing I love to look at is the dividends that are coming in. Each and every single week, we receive dividends, we reinvest them, we increase our share count, and we slowly but surely continue to stack the bricks. And it's looking good. So you can see over February, about $45, $42, $40, $27, massive pullback. Even though we're increasing our shares, you can see that our payouts are going down. And that can be a lot of things, right? That can be the underlying assets going down. That can be the call premium is going down. That can be the implied volatility is going down, which is affecting the premiums that they are collecting on the fund side of things. But those are notes that we have to look at when we see payments coming down. What's the underlying issue, right? So that's XDT. When we go to QDT, similar picture here. Let me get down here to the dividends. You can see we are not making any purchases. We are just getting paid our dividends, and we're reinvesting our dividends, and we're letting the drip build the share count without putting any new fresh capital into it. If you've been joining me on this channel, you know that my goal is to get to each one of these to 250 by the end of the year. And I think I'm at a point now where they're just going to drip themselves to 250 without me injecting any more capital into them. So that's what we're doing. But you can see here 54, 53, 57, and then last week was pretty bad at the 33, but I believe we had a shortened week, and that will affect the premiums as always. So that's QDT, and then RDT as well. Let's come down here, similar picture, no new capital injected, 48, 38, 37, 28. The one thing that there is to note about this month, comparing to last month, is we did have 5 payouts this month, which is pretty nice, and that does happen every once in a while, depending, and I use the payout structure depending on when Robinhood's margin is, right? So if we come here to the Robinhood margin in our payment that we paid this week in margin, the February 6th to March 8th was the billing cycle. Average margin used $11,499.23. Yearly interest rate at 5.75, so no reduction there. Total interest paid $55.10 for the month. So we're going to look at that. We're going to use that figure, and we're going to see. And then also I'm going to prorate it because obviously we own more than, we just looked at the capital. So we obviously own more than $11,500 worth of these DTE funds. So what I did is I prorate it based on the average share count and the price today. and we went off of that. So that's where we're sitting with that information. That being said, let's jump into the actual margin, right? Let's take a look at how much we are paying and how much we're at right now. Right now, our margin use has gone up significantly. And that is because we got assigned BITO. Now it's about $2,000 or so dollars. But again, for this series, everything is prorated, so we are keeping it 100. Margin used right now, 15,256. Options collateral, 9,300. If there are options on the table and they are not assigned on the cash secured put side, we don't pay any interest on it, so we don't have to worry about the options collateral as of right now. We're going to worry about the margin used, and you can see here we have a low risk right now of about 33.83% on the portfolio when it comes to the margin status or getting margin called. And we have about a $10,000 buffer. So this account can go down $11,000 before I'm going to get quote unquote margin called or have to sell shares or deposit cash. So we're in a really good spot there. Let's take a look at how much we're paying in daily interest on this balance right now. So right now at 5.75, we have the first $1,000 that is completely free. And then our daily interest rate is 2.26, right? So that is our total interest that we're paying each and every single day, depending on what the margin is I have out at the moment. Now, like I said, we just got assigned some BITO, and potentially we could get assigned some CONL depending on expiration date on 3/21. So we'll keep in mind that, but for right now, we are looking good and we're staying within the parameters we want. So I want to jump into the spreadsheet, excuse me, and I want to take a look at the data, right? So this is where we're sitting. These are our three funds. These are the ones that we've been focused on this entire series. And of course, this is month 7 in the series. So we have 222 shares of QDT. We have XDT. We have RDT. You can see here the price of the asset as of right now, the monthly dividends on average over the last 4 payments, and the payout that you would receive if we got those exact same payouts going forward, right? So $201 over the next 4 payouts, XDT 156, RDT 154, not too bad. And then the cost of capital, if you were to buy them right now, would be about $24,000. So not too bad when you look, all things considered, it's looking really good. One thing I do want to look at here is the total picture, right? The total picture. So let's jump into here and let's look at the margin. The margin is what we are really focused on as of right now. And like we said, we are in month 7. So month 7, the total outlook, we had $55.10 worth of margin interest that we actually paid. This was pulled from our account as of right now. Total dividends received between these assets, and that is the all the assets between the February 6th and March 8th was $635.30. The prorated dividends, because it wasn't all on margin, was $314.07. And the margin used, as you guys saw, was about $11,500. One thing to note, you can see when we started this journey, we were at 6.75 interest rate. Then we came down to 6.41, 6.25, 6.0, 5.83, and now we are stuck at the 5.75. Now we do have the, if you look at the CME tool or you've been watching that, we do have a rate adjustment potentially coming up as of right now for March 19th, which is just over a week away. We're at a 97% chance that we are not going to get a rate reduction. So do not count on that. When it comes to the following potential rate reduction on in May, we're looking at potentially a 43.4% chance of a 25 bip rate reduction. So I'm not seeing any changes in the interest rate in the coming months, maybe in 2 months, but for right now, we're probably going to be stuck at that 5.75% rate. And so what's the total after that, right? Well, the total is in the green, $258. If you take the prorated dividends we received minus the $55 worth of margin interest, we're sitting at the $258.97 in the green. Now, some people may say, well, what about taxes? Of course, yeah, you could come in here and you could calculate the taxes on that and pull that portion out as well. Now, some of these funds, when they are newer, they are taxed as return on capital, so you have to keep that in mind as well. But for me, we are just keeping track of the numbers that we can see here, and then on the tax side of things, I'll figure that out with my accountant each and every single year. Average total capital between the 3 funds as of right now is about 23,260, and we use about 49% of our total allocation to margin. So One thing I do want to note here, let's come down here and let's look at the actual funds. You can see the pink box here. This is the period, right? From 2/7 to 3/7. We have 5 payments that came out in between there, and we received a lot of dividends. So that's good to see. I do want to note here, you can see we went from 203 shares to 221 shares, which on QDTE was about a 17, almost 18 share count increase. So that's nice to see, and it was all done by drip. When we come to XDTE, we're at a 13.16 share count increase from 181 to 195, all on drip again. And then when we get to RDTE, this one fund is a little bit cheaper. We are looking at a 16.7 share increase from 176 to 192, which is getting us closer and closer to that 250 goal. And then probably when I get to the 250, I'll turn off drip. Maybe I'll do manual purchases, but I'll probably turn off drip when we get to that point. But we still have quite a bit of time before we get there, when all things are considered. So that's what we're looking as of right now. These assets with the pullback, the total return came down significantly. QDT only sitting at a 5.14% total return, XDT at a 5.08 total return. RDT went into the negative on total return of negative 1.34. And what I mean by that is if I've received $897 worth of dividends since inception, the stock is down $1,000, then overall I am down about $106 total return. But we have to keep in mind this has been a massive pullback over the last little while, and I think we will get a bounce after all this tariff stuff is sorted out, but we'll see. I don't know. You never know which way the market's going to go. All we can control is stacking our share count, adding money every single week, buying more assets, and building the bricks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. Hopefully it gives you a good look at a small portion of margin used in these high yield dividend accounts. The goal again is to stack the shares until I get to a point where I am comfortable with my shares, and then I will allow those shares to pay off that margin interest, and we will fully get back to cash in the account. So that's the goal, that's the journey, that's month 7 in the books. Hopefully you guys appreciate the info on this, and hopefully you are running numbers like this yourself. Of course, all of my spreadsheets, any of the members in the channel have access to the spreadsheet, so you can just download those and run the numbers for yourself. I appreciate everybody as always. Happy investing, and we'll catch you next time.